Well, for more on this, we're going to go to Shihab Rattansi. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. I think it's about midnight there, Shihab, so one would imagine there's a limited amount of reaction to what's been going on in Israel and Gaza. What is the U.S. position in all of this?
And that makes you wonder, actually, whether the ground was set in the previous few days by the Trump administration to certainly present this as an entirely Israeli decision. Donald Trump saying, look, it's up to them what they do. And for some time, anyway, it is true that it certainly seemed that Donald Trump was convinced by Benjamin Netanyahu, those around him. His biggest donors are the Israeli lobby, Christian evangelicals, others who have an interest in ethnically cleansing the Gaza Strip for one reason or another. But he seemed to be convinced by those arguments that, yes, one more push, and you can achieve all those aims that you were mentioning from the Israeli proposal, the disarmament of Hamas, the return of all captives living and dead, and the demilitarization of Gaza Strip. Just give us this one more push to reoccupy sections of Gaza, and then we can do this. However, then we got this rather interesting bit of nuance in the last few days from the White House saying, but we don't agree with annexation, which then led, it seemed that Netanyahu talking about, oh, well, there are plenty of Arab governments who are, itching to take over the occupation, the illegal occupation of Gaza, despite their denials. It's not clear whether he knows something, the Americans know something that we don't. But I think we do have to start asking questions about how hands-off the Americans are, obviously. And because listening to Tarek there, it's clear that, and looking at the statement, it's clear that a huge project of ethnic cleansing is planned, it would seem, from Gaza City. And then in that statement, it says the IDF will prepare to take control of Gaza City while providing humanitarian aid to the civilian population outside of the combat zones. And it's so difficult to not connect that to what we heard from Mike Huckabee on Wednesday in an interview with Fox News. He's the US ambassador to Israel, who was talking about the expansion of the infamous Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid operation, in inverted commas. The US mercenaries, very trigger-happy, using lethal fire to control crowds. And he said that the US plan was to scale that up to 16 centers and begin to operate them as much as 24 hours a day. And you have to wonder whether all of this is all connected or just purely coincidental. And then I have to stress, these are very much questions in our minds right now. But it would appear, though, that if Israel is going to ethnically cleanse Gaza City and pledge to give humanitarian aid, and if everyone isn't going to be pushed all the way to the south, and Huckabee is promising 16 or 12 more Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid centers, could all this be connected? But again, I stress these are questions.
And of course, in the last week or so, Donald Trump, the Trump administration's attention has been focused predominantly on Ukraine. He's supposed to be having a meeting with Vladimir Putin in the coming days, we're told. The flip side of what you're talking about, Shihab, is there a sense at all, anywhere, that essentially the Trump administration has looked at the situation in Israel and Gaza and gone, right, we're done, that's it, I'm not interested anymore, I'm going to try and find a win somewhere else? And that is actually what we're seeing, that there is a backing off, if you like, by the Trump administration.
How much of a backing on was there in the first place? We very quickly, after initial optimism, got to the same pattern that we had in the Biden administration, which is to keep rounds and rounds of negotiations underway, to have various proposals being released, with all sorts of reporting that Hamas is agreeing to most of the proposals. They just want a security guarantee from Donald Trump that Israel won't return to the genocide as soon as the captives are released or after the initial phase is done, which so many Israeli politicians say is exactly what they intend to do. And then, just when it seems everything is about to come together, Steve Witkoff now, and it used to be Antony Blinken, Secretary of State under Joe Biden, but now it's Steve Witkoff says, well, Hamas has rejected everything. So it's all, they're not serious about peace, much to the surprise of Hamas and the mediators involved. How serious were they ever? And in the meantime, as with the Biden administration, Israel is continuing to achieve its goals of ethnic cleansing and killing. I guess that will be one for people to look back on once we get the documents.
Shihab Rattansi, it is a convoluted situation, and we appreciate you sort of giving us that breakdown of it. Shihab Rattansi in Washington, D.C., thank you very much.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.